Well, last year, Americans said their top resolutions including eating healthier, yeah, and exercising more, sure. U.S. News and World Report says 80% of resolutions fail by the second week of February.
Well, that's a pretty dismal prospect.
Right.
New York Times bestselling author James Clear says making your habits stick throughout 2020 is about focusing on your daily routine. His book is Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. James Clear, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You say instead of focusing on our resolutions, we should be asking ourselves one question. What is it?
So the question people usually ask is, what outcomes do I want to achieve? You know, and they end up with things like, oh, I'd like to lose 30 pounds or increase my income or reduce stress. But I think there's one layer deeper, and so the important question to ask yourself is, who is the type of person that could achieve those outcomes? And what you start to uncover is you start to learn the identity. So for example, all right, who's the type of person that could lose 30 pounds? Well, maybe it's the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Or who's the type of person that could finish that novel? Maybe it's the type of person who writes every day. And
but you're talking about yourself, right, James?
Well,
when you're asking that? That's
if you say I'm not that person. Yeah.
Right, I'm confused. Or you say...
No, you're right. So you're asking yourself, who's that type of person? And then the next step is to build a habit that reinforces that identity.
Okay.
And so instead of focusing on the outcome, does the scale move, whatever, you focus on showing up as that identity each day. And the way that I like to summarize this is that every action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become. And so, no, writing one sentence does not finish the novel, but it does cast a vote for being a writer. And doing one push-up does not transform your body, but it does cast a vote for I'm a healthy person or I don't miss workouts.
I know a writer whose idea was to say to herself, if you just write one sentence every morning, that's the goal. But she said, if you write one, you usually write more.
Sure, yeah. A lot of the time, you know, you break through that barrier and then you end up feeling like doing more after that. But the key, I think, there are a couple elements here, but a habit must be established before it can be improved, right? Like a lot of the time we focus on this big, wonderful thing that we want to achieve, but really you just need to master the art of showing up. And so writing one sentence or doing one push-up or meditating for 1 minute.
Or losing 1 pound,
in the long run, it counts for a lot more than what it seems like because you're establishing that new identity.
So then on the subject of achieving something, how do you measure progress?
So basically what you want are signals of progress, right? One of the most motivating feelings to the human brain is the feeling of getting feedback and I'm moving forward.
Right.
And so there are a variety of ways to do this, but the rough overview is that you want a form of measurement, a form of feedback that matches the frequency of the habit. So for example, take my dad, like he likes to swim. He and my mom swim every morning. Well, when they get out of the pool, their body looks exactly the same as it did when they got in, right? There's no feedback there that this habit was worth it. But my dad has this little pocket calendar, and he takes it out and he puts an X on that day. And that's a form of habit tracking. So I put together there's a habit journal that has like these trackers in the back. And you just put an X for each day you do it. And in this case, the feedback, the signal of progress, it matches the frequency of the habit. So rather than like looking at your body in the mirror or looking at the weight on the scale, you can track it in a way that matches the consistency that you need to have.
You say your ultimate productivity hack is saying no. I'm really curious about this one. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we're at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people, when they talk about resolutions, talk about what do I want to add to my life? What do I want to achieve this year?
Gayle was talking about that.
I said, I want to try to say no more often and stuff I don't really want to do. I don't know how practical that is, though, because some stuff you have to do.
Well, but I do think it's a very powerful thing. And there are a variety of questions you can ask yourself. You know, like one that I like is, what are the minority of my actions that deliver the majority of my results? So if you could only work for 1 hour each day, what would you do? And that actually is quite revealing. You start to realize things that you would maybe take off the table. Another question is like, what is the main goal here? Is this really essential? You know, do I have to be doing this? There's one, I like this question, I think Tim Ferriss came up with, what would this look like if this was easy? Right? Like if it was easy for me to do this, and you start to, just by throwing the question out there, you elicit answers that may provide a more fruitful or effective way.
What if you have a hard time saying no?
I mean, and for many people, this is a reality, right? And sometimes you know, like let's say your boss asks you to do something and all of a sudden you're asked to do all these things that you don't have space for. And so I think sometimes turning it around and asking them, you know, I'm very committed. I want to be able to do a great job here. Which of these things would you like me to eliminate or deprioritize to make this new thing a priority? So basically you have the other person say no for the person of authority figure it out for you.
James, thank you very much.
Great, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. The book is Atomic Habits. It's a good one.